So if you're wearing a smartwatch, you have two ways to measure your heart rate. You can go for the three funky green lights in your Garmin watch, or you can go the old traditional method and wear the infamous heart rate strap. Which one's more accurate, which one's more comfortable, and which one is going to give you the best indication of your heart rate? It starts right now, baby. Let's go. Let's get it. Firstly, welcome back to the TRIAX Performance channel. My name is Rob Delves and I form 1/3 of the TRIAX Performance team alongside Damo and Sean. You can contact me on Twitter at DelvesRobert and also via the TRIAX Instagram page at TRIAX Performance. If you'd like to contact Damo or Shawnee, then you can do so on those channels as well. And also have a look at the TikTok because it's just absolutely booming. It's not really, but yeah, give us some help. I urge you to consider subscribing. If you get any value out of this video or any other videos, then please consider pressing the subscribe button and giving us a like as well. It would really mean a lot to us. There's plenty of content out there, particularly if you're a team sport athlete. I'm sure you'll find something of value. But now on to more serious business. We've got the heart rate derived by our watch versus the pesky old chest strap. Which one is more accurate? That's what this video is all about today. And well, guess what? Straight up off the top, I'm going to reveal that this bad boy, the heart rate strap, is more accurate than the Garmin watch, or in the watch, I should say. That's just cold hard facts straight up off the top, and no mucking around here. But now you've got your answer. We're going to talk about exactly why that is. But firstly, though, we'll talk about the wristwatch and the three green lights there as well. Probably because it's the least accurate of the two devices we have available. But there's a bit more going on with the green lights there that we should talk about, and you might get some value out of. Firstly, the old green lights. So what is exactly going on here with these? Well, it's no coincidence that the lights are green. Let me say it from the start. They didn't just pick a color out of the rainbow. It's purely a scientific decision as to why they are green lights in the watch. So the way heart rate is measured through the smartwatches and across a lot of the different smartwatch brands is typically through this thing called PPG. Now bear with me here because I'm not sure whether I'm going to pronounce this correctly, but it is photoplethysmography. I probably haven't said that right, but it's PPG anyway. Let's just go with that. So in a really simplistic view, PPG to determine our heart rate works through the reflection and absorption of light. So essentially our blood reflects red light, but it actually absorbs green light. So that's why you've got the three green lights there for the start, is because our blood will absorb the green light. So that's our first point as to why that's there. But we also should mention when we say the word absorbs, it's not anything sinister like it's radioactive or anything like that. It's completely safe and natural. So there's nothing to worry about from that point of view before I get any further. So these green lights that I've showed and you've seen on your watch are essentially used to help us to detect blood volume flowing through our wrist. So each time your heart beats, obviously the blood flow through the wrist is greater, and therefore so is the absorption of green light. So there's more green light being absorbed. So the sensor, which is our three green lights, is essentially capturing that blood volume as it flows through the wrist, and then is using that information to give us a heart rate at any given time. But this is essentially an indirect measure of heart rate. We're not directly measuring heart rate from the source, and we're relying upon basically a proxy measure. So having said that it's an indirect measure, that means there's already some levels of inherent error and predictions around that. So firstly, I know from experience anecdotally when wearing just the watch to measure heart rate that there is some challenges it experiences, particularly with sharp changes in exercise intensity. So for instance, I've done some shuttle running and a lot of stop-start work, and there's a lot of a delay or a lag time from the onset of me increasing the intensity towards the translation of that in the heart rate in the watch, which is natural and we expect from an indirect measure. Also, I've seen some research that has speculated whether arm movement may actually affect the heart rate because of where the watch is positioned around your wrist. So particularly if you're running and you have a bit of a violent sort of arm movement through the torso and upper carriage then there is some conjecture that suggests that maybe that might influence the heart rate data. I'm not completely sold on that, but What I will tell you anecdotally is that the move bar on my Garmin watch gets reset every time I brush my teeth vigorously. So there may be something in that, but that's obviously anecdotal and I can't prove that, so don't quote me on it. But there's something to consider as well, given the position of the watch on your wrist, and given that its tendency particularly when you're running or doing exercise, that your arms are a vital part in movement and locomotion as well. So it's something you'd probably want to consider. Another consideration and another potential source of error is dehydration. Now, obviously, dehydration and exercise aren't completely foreign from one another, and it does happen from time to time. So when you get dehydrated, essentially your blood becomes thicker. So when it becomes thicker, like, your heart will still beat hard and it'll still try and keep beating as much as it needs to. But when we've got our sensor around our wrist, it takes a lot longer for the blood to get down there. So that obviously then, given that our watch is absorbing or using green light to detect that blood flow, that may mean a delay or some error in our heart rate as well that isn't quite as accurate as what's going on closer to the source. And then I've even seen some suggestions about a person's skin tone and tattoos on their wrist influencing and affecting the validity of heart rate data from the wristwatch. There's been a few different studies that have refuted this and said that it has some merit. I'm not really buying into it that much. It's a bit of an interesting area, to be honest, about the skin tone and some tattoos and whether they actually affect the measurements of heart rate. I think that as the technology improves, that won't be as much of an issue, even though I'm not convinced that it is an issue, given that there's already some inherent potential errors or avenues for errors already in the watch. So wouldn't buy into that too much, but the idea or the potential rationale behind the idea of different skin tones affecting the validity is essentially they believe that darker skin contains more melanin, which absorbs greater amount of green light compared to people with fairer skin. So that may breed some potential errors in data validity there, but take that one with a grain of salt, I'm afraid, on that. But now let's move on to the heart rate strap. So this is the one that you want. As they say in Greece, you're the one that I want. And if you're an athlete, this is the one you probably want. Doesn't have to be this one. I'm not plugging it, or I'm not getting paid to say it. But the idea of a chest strap is probably what you want if you're serious about your training data, particularly heart rate. Now, the heart rate chest strap works completely differently to heart rate derived via your wristwatch. Now, the chest strap is working with electrical impulse, which is a lot more accurate for this topic in particular. So obviously, electrical stimulation and the presence of impulses is a lot easier for us to track, particularly when we wear the strap so close to the source as well. So for males, it's generally just underneath the pecs, and for females, under the bra line there as well. So already we're a lot closer to the source than we are with the wristwatch. Each time the heart beats, there's an electrical impulse to do so, and then effectively the heart rate strap or the chest strap then receives that impulse via the electrodes, and then that sends that information into the monitor itself, and then that feeds back into the watch and gives us our heart rate. So obviously, it's a lot more of a direct measure, being so close to the source, and provides a greater indication than our wristwatch. Now, the idea with the chest strap is to always dampen it as well when you wear it. So obviously with the electrical impulse there, in terms of water dampening, it will help improve that conductivity as well. So it will help improve or help maintain the validity of our results and our ability to actually detect those electrical impulses as they happen during exercise. Essentially, this is a more direct measure of heart rate. Firstly, we're closer to the source, and secondly, because we're measuring the electrical impulse for the heart to beat as it beats, essentially. I know anecdotally, and we know from research, that this is the most accurate way outside of probably an ECG or a hospital to measure our heart rate during exercise. There's no real conjecture surrounding that. I think research is pretty conclusive that this is the most accurate way to measure heart rate, particularly at a sub-elite level away from the gym. Again, the only things that sort of can hinder our connectivity is probably the placement of the strap. So you have to make sure it's right underneath that pec line or bra line, and then just moistening the electrodes. So make sure they're damp before you go out, and you shouldn't have too much trouble apart from that. Obviously, the main drawback with the chest strap is the discomfort. So a lot of people find it a bit annoying to wear, maybe a bit constricting as well. So I think the important thing to remember with the strap, like I wear the heart rate strap and I don't really care too much about it. I don't feel it too much. It doesn't worry me. I know it's there, but I don't really have like that annoying awareness. But the idea is to wear it so it's tight, so it won't fall down to your guts, but not tight enough so it constricts you. So you need to find that balance. But once you get used to it after you've had a few runs in it, then I don't really feel like it's much of an issue. But you will thank yourself because you'll see the improvements in your data, particularly your heart rate data. So to sum up then, short and sharp, if you want to improve your data accuracy with in terms of your heart rate, then wear the chest heart rate monitor. Well, if you got this far, thank you very much for watching. Appreciate the support. So if you've got any value out of today's video, then feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. It would really mean a lot to us, and go check out some of our other content that we have around the various social media platforms. But until next time, hopefully we'll have a more informative shoot for you. We'll see you later.